Hi everybody and welcome back. So today, as we are getting nearer and nearer to festive celebrations, I wanted to do a watercolour tutorial for you. I'm going to keep it nice and simple, so ideal for beginners. And this is an image I found of a robin on a website called Pixabay. I really do recommend using a website like them, purely because you can get royalty-free images which are brilliant to work from. So I do like to use images from there from time to time when I'm creating artwork. So to start with, something that you will need is some watercolour paint. It doesn't matter if you've got a pan set like this or if you've got sort of tubes of paint, or even watercolour pencils will do. The only thing you need to bear in mind is if you're going to use watercolour pencils, you just do your basic drawing to start with, and then with a paintbrush and some water, just add some water to the pencil, and it will start to break down the pigment of the pencil and it will turn it into paint. So what I've done is I've got the image here on my phone, and I'm going to keep it nice and simple. I'm not going to do an outline. So the first thing you want to do is put a little bit of water on your brush and just spend a little bit of time looking at the image so you can get an idea of the colours. And I'm literally just going to start putting in some of the red for the robin's redbreast. And if you start to get a sense that the paintbrush is getting a little bit dry, just add a little bit of water just to move some of that paint around. And I'm just going to start building this up a little bit. And one of the things I always say whenever I'm doing a tutorial or workshop of any sort is you want to be darting your gaze backwards and forwards between the reference photo you're using, or if you're working from life, you want to always be looking at the subject and then darting your gaze backwards and forwards. So I'm gonna just start to build this up. Don't worry too much at this stage about trying to get the colours and tones right, because this is just going to be a really nice, quick, simple little tutorial. I'm going to show you how you can add pen later on as well, just to bring out some of the finer details. So as you can see, I'm literally just looking backwards and forwards, and just starting to build up the colour. If you're completely new to using watercolour, one of the best pieces of advice I can give you is just apply a little bit of paint at a time, because you can always add more, and watercolour will dry much paler. So if you want an area to be a little bit darker and a bit more vibrant in colour, you need to add more paint to that area. And something else you can do is you can add a little bit of colour to a particular area, like that. Then wash out your brush so you've got just water on it, and then you can just move that paint around. Another little tip, something else you can do is you can reactivate watercolour paint. So if you've got an area that's completely dry and then you want to sort of move the paint around a bit more, or you want to erase something, I'll show you how you can do that. So just clean your brush out and then just use water and just take that away like so. Alright, so I'm going to let this area dry a little bit. I'm going to focus a little bit on some of the green, which is down here. Now, I'm just sort of doing this as an idea, just as a suggestion of where we can see some of these colours and tones. Now, if you want an area to have a bit more sort of depth to it, then have more paint on your brush and less water. If you want an area to be much lighter, then of course you can add more water to just dilute the paint. Okay. I'm just going to do a little suggestion here. And I'm going to go in with my darker brown, and I'm just going to put couple of bits there, and then with water I'm going to just move this a little bit, dilute it so it's not quite as dark. I'm also going to take some of this and I'm going to move it over here. So you can do that as well. If you found that you've got a colour which you think is also somewhere else in the image, you can just take that paint up and use it for another area of your painting. Okay, so just keep darting your gaze backwards and forwards all the time, so that gives you a good indication of proportion, so you can check everything, and if you need to make corrections as you go, that really helps you to do that. Okay, so I'm gonna let some of that dry now, and then I'll show you how you can add pen for the finer details. Okay, so once some of the areas have dried, that's something that is really quite important, is if you do want to work into any paintings you've done with pens or pencils, make sure that a particular area is absolutely dry. I'm going to be using a handwriting pen, which looks a little bit like this, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here just so we can see some of the detail. And I'm just going to start to put some of this in. Now the other thing you'll notice is I'm using sort of quite a scratchy sort of effect. Okay, I'm just going to zoom that back out just to help me get the shape a little bit better. So again, dart your gaze backwards and forwards all the time. So this helps you to get proportion, and it also is really helpful for you to see the gaps in between as well, and try to have a look at the shapes and the curves and the lines. So underneath the little beak here we can see it sort of curls down and then comes back out. We can see down here, if I zoom in, you can see some of the little feathers as well, so we can recreate that using pen. Alright, so I'm just going to go in here with the eye, and then where I can see sort of some little feathers and just some indications of detail here and there, I'm just going to use the pen to outline that. Make sure that is dry to touch as well. Continue that round. And a lot of people, I think, get sort of quite nervous when they're maybe working from a picture on their phone, but it can actually be really helpful, particularly if you're trying to build your sort of drawing and sketching skills, and you're getting used to it and you're doing lots of practicing. The one piece of advice I would give you though is to definitely try and keep it similar to scale. Of course, sort of depending on the size of your phone, is just try and keep it to scale if you can, because that will really help you. It helps to get proportion much better if you can keep to scale. Now, as I said just now, I'm using quite a sort of sketchy motion. Now this really helps when you're new to drawing, because a lot of people automatically think, you know, you need to do a line like this and it needs to be really smooth and really careful. And whilst that's true for some drawing, when you're starting out, I do recommend doing something sort of quite sketchy like this, because it just helps you to sort of get that flow. It helps you to find a style of sketching that suits you as well. So don't think that you've got to try and get everything absolutely perfect. There is definitely room for experimentation when you're doing artwork. Okay. I'm just going to do little light indications here just around where we can see the different colour variations in the robin there. Okay, so a really quick and easy tutorial for you on how you can do a little painting using watercolour and a pen of a robin. I hope that you found it helpful and will help you for any painting or sketching that you do in the future. If you haven't already, please do like and subscribe to my channel. I really do appreciate your support, and I read and reply to all of the comments that I get. And I will see you soon for my next video.